Nobody is streaming your conversations out of your car. The cabin microphone runs the voice assistant and the hands-free calling. It opens on a button press or a wake word, and the manufacturer paying to move continuous audio of every car they ever sold would be buying bandwidth that tells them almost nothing. So put that one down. What the car keeps is duller than that and considerably worse. It keeps where you went, when you went, how fast and how hard you stopped. That record exists because a modern car cannot work without producing it. Once it exists, somebody decides who gets a copy, and that decision was made long before you were handed the keys. I buy SIM cards in bulk and put them in modems for a living. That is an odd background for talking about cars, except that the thing which makes a car interesting here is a SIM card sitting in a modem, and I know what one of those costs to run. The device nobody counts. Most people have got the hang of treating a phone as a computer. The television took longer and mostly landed. The car still gets filed under machine. It stopped being a machine somewhere in the last decade. There are dozens of small computers in it talking to each other over an internal network, and one of them has a radio. And here is the difference that matters. You did not install anything. There was no setup screen, no permission prompt, no moment where you agreed to something and could have said no instead. The recording was switched on at the factory and the car arrived doing it. Wade writes down just by working. Start with the boring layer because the boring layer is the one that never stops. Location and not a single position, a history, where the car was, the route it took, and the time it was there. All of it time-stamped. Speed against that route. The car knows the posted limit on most of those roads because the navigation data carries it. So the record includes how fast you were going relative to what the sign said. Braking. Hard stops get logged as events with a severity attached because the stability and safety systems have to know about them. Doors, seat belts, ignition, and on a lot of models, the boot, which means the car has a decent idea of how many people were in it and when each of them got in. And a rolling buffer around a serious impact. That one has a name and a legal status in several countries. It holds the seconds either side of a crash. And it exists for accident investigations. Every item on that list is defensible on its own. Each earns its place in a system that has to decide within milliseconds whether to fire an airbag or tighten a belt. The problem is that none of it gets thrown away afterwards. The modem is the part people miss. This is where the reasoning most people apply to their car falls apart. The assumption usually goes like this. I never installed the app, so the car is not connected. Or, I turned location off on my phone, so the navigation is not tracking me. Both of those are statements about a phone. The car has its own connection. There is a modem in it with an embedded SIM provisioned to a carrier by the manufacturer, and it is live whenever the car is. That is what makes the emergency call button work when your phone is dead in a ditch. It is also what makes remote unlock and stolen vehicle tracking possible at all. Those features cannot exist without a permanent link back to the manufacturer, and they are sold on the window sticker as reasons to buy the car. So declining to link the app changes less than people assume. The app is a window onto data that already left the vehicle. Closing the window does not stop the sending. I can put a number on the cost side of that, because it is my day job. A SIM on a wholesale plan runs a few dollars a month, and telemetry is tiny next to anything a human does with a phone. A car reporting for a whole year moves less data than one evening of streaming video. Against the price of a car, that is a rounding error, which is the entire answer to why every manufacturer does it. It costs almost nothing, and the output has a resale value. Pairing your phone is the loud one. Now the part that catches people who have already thought about the rest of it. When you pair a phone over Bluetooth and accept the prompt about contacts, the car does not read your contacts live off the handset. It copies them into its own storage. Names, numbers, and usually the call history. On a lot of models, text messages too. That copy sits in the head unit after your phone is gone, off, or sold to somebody else. It is built that way for a sensible reason. The contact list has to be searchable, while the phone is in a coat pocket with a weak link, and the car cannot sit waiting on Bluetooth to look up a name. The effect is that a piece of hardware bolted into a dashboard is now holding the phone book of everybody who has ever paired with it. And nobody thinks of a head unit as a place where their data lives. It is the thing that plays music. Rentals are where this actually bites. Give that 30 seconds of thought and it gets uncomfortable. A rental car pairs with a new phone every few days. Most people accept the contact prompt because the prompt is standing between them and the music. Almost nobody deletes the pairing when they hand the keys back. So the head unit of an ordinary rental accumulates a stack of phone books belonging to strangers, and the next person in that seat can scroll through every one of them from the touchscreen. The whole lot is sitting in the Bluetooth menu. The used car version runs the other way. Buy one privately and you can often see who the previous owner called. So 2 rules in a rental: decline the contact sync and pair for audio only, which every car on the lot supports. Then delete your device from the paired list before you return it, which takes about 20 seconds and lives on the same screen you paired from. And if you plug the phone in with a cable instead of pairing it, check anyway. On plenty of models, the cable performs the same sync with fewer questions asked. Forgets a copy, the manufacturer first. That part is not in dispute and it is written down in the documents you were given. After that, it depends on your market. In some countries, insurers buy driving behavior either from the manufacturer directly or through a company sitting in the middle. The score gets built out of your braking, your acceleration, and the hours of the day you tend to be out. Late trips count against you in most of these models, which is a statement about risk in general and says nothing about how you were driving that night. And it reaches you as a single number on a renewal quote with no working shown. Sometimes that is an opt-in with a discount attached, which is an honest trade. It has also reached insurers without the driver noticing because the consent was collected inside something else they were signing. Then there is the broker layer, which buys and joins whatever it can get. Location history is one of the most valuable things in that market because a pattern of places identifies a person more reliably than a name does. And where did the permission come from? Somewhere in the purchase paperwork, or the app setup, or the moment you tapped accept on the touchscreen to make it stop asking so you could drive away. That is a real agreement and it will hold. Nobody read it. The manufacturer knows nobody read it. The terms were drafted on that basis. The settings that do exist. Worth being precise here, because the advice floating around on this topic is usually either useless or wrong. There is a connectivity or privacy menu on most cars built in the last 5 or 6 years. What sits inside it varies enormously by manufacturer and by country, and in some markets it is genuinely detailed because the law forced it to be. Look for anything worded around sharing driving data or improving our services and switch it off. Those are normally separate from the toggles that keep the emergency call working, and you want to leave that one alone. Find the destination history and delete it. Many cars hold the last several hundred places you drove to and will happily list them for you. Check the manufacturer's account website as well as the car itself. The two hold different things, and the real deletion controls are more often on the website than on the dashboard. And peer out every paired device you do not recognize or no longer own. Wiping it before you sell it? This is the one with a deadline, and people miss it because the car is leaving and their attention is on the money. Run a factory reset on the head unit. It is in the settings menu and it clears the paired devices, the copied contacts, and the saved destinations in one go. Then remove the car from your account on the manufacturer's side. That is a separate operation on a separate system, and doing only the first leaves you attached to a vehicle you no longer own. I have watched it go the other way too. Somebody sells a car and can still see where it is parked 3 weeks later because the account link lives on a server and the reset in the dashboard never touched it. If you are the one buying used, assume none of this was done. Reset it yourself before you pair anything to it. The part I got wrong. For about 2 years, I thought I had this handled, on the grounds that I had never installed the app. That was the entire strategy. No app, no account, and I was quietly pleased with myself. Then I sat down and read what the modem actually does, which I should have done first, given that I buy SIM cards for a living and know perfectly well that an embedded SIM does not care whether you downloaded anything. The car had been reporting the whole time. The app would have let me see some of what it sent. So the only thing my clever refusal achieved was making me the one party in the arrangement who could not read the data. That is the shape of a lot of privacy advice. The visible thing gets refused, and the invisible thing carries on underneath. The weakest position on the list. I want to be straight about this, because I have spent other videos telling you that a device can be kept off the network. A smart speaker you can decline to buy. A television you can keep off the Wi-Fi and feed from a separate box. A browser extension you can delete in 4 seconds. A car you cannot. The connectivity is wired into the safety systems, parts of it are mandated, and pulling the fuse would take out the crash call along with it. The settings on offer are the settings the manufacturer decided to offer, and that is the ceiling. So this is the one where the honest answer is that you are managing exposure instead of avoiding it. Delete the pairings, clear the destination history, turn off what the menu allows, and go in knowing the location record still leaves the car. The piece fully inside your control is the phone. What you pair it to, what you let it sync, and what you leave behind in the vehicle you are about to give back to somebody else. More privacy tools tested honestly at theprivacywire.com. Subscribe for privacy advice that is actually practical.